Hello everybody, welcome back to Darwin Academy. Today let's discuss something about complex permanent tissues. In the previous video we have learnt about simple permanent tissues, right? Today we'll be looking at what complex permanent tissues in plants are, okay? So, what is a complex permanent tissue? A tissue which is made up of more than one type of simple permanent tissue is called as a complex permanent tissue. Okay, so if I imagine the simple permanent tissue to be a bouquet of roses, then I would imagine the complex permanent tissues to be a bouquet of roses, marigold, daffodils. So you know that this bouquet is made up of different types of flowers. Just like that, the complex permanent tissue is a tissue which is made up of more than one type of simple permanent tissues. So mind you, we are talking about complex permanent tissues in plants only. Okay. So we have complex permanent tissues within plants. Complex permanent tissues can be categorized into two types, xylem and phloem. Xylem is the water conducting tissue within the plant. That means it is transporting water. Xylem is the water conducting tissue, whereas phloem is the food conducting tissue. We will look at phloem slightly later, but now let's focus on xylem. Like I mentioned, xylem is a complex permanent tissue which is seen in plants and helps to transport water. Okay. There are four different types of cells that make up xylem. They are tracheids, okay, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. So what are the four different types of cells that form the xylem within plants? The four different types of cells are tracheids, okay, xylem vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fiber. Let us look at how the structure of all these are different from one another and what is their role. Okay. So tracheids are actually, these are spindle-like cells. Okay. We are looking at only one type of cell within the tracheid. Okay. So tracheid is a type of cell wherein the cell will be elongated at the ends, pointy at the ends. Okay. If I cut it lengthwise, then this is how I would see, or these are the parts that I'll be looking at. Okay. So you basically know that the tracheid is a slightly longish kind of a cell with pointy ends. Okay. Almost pointed ends. And the wall is very thick, right? So this is the thickness of one wall and this is the thickness of other wall. It is because they are deposited with a substance called as lignin. And as a result, we call these walls as lignified walls. And this is the lumen of the cell. Also, you may notice that there is one more part which is called as the pits. Pits are these hole-like structures, okay, which are present all along the walls of the tracheids. So, what is the job of the tracheid within the xylem? Tracheids actually help to transport water along with the next set of cells called as the vessels. I hope you have understood everything about tracheids, okay? Vessels, moving on to the second type of cells within xylem, these are vessels. They are slightly wider tube-like cells which are having many pits, okay? And these are tubular kind of cells which are placed one on top of the other so that it forms a continuous channel where the water can flow. Okay? Imagine the water pipes. Something similar to their structure is the structure of vessels. But these are all very tiny cells. Okay? So, lot of cells will form the tissue. I hope you know all that. Okay? So, these are not large cells, but these are very tiny cells. They all work together. We were discussing about xylem parenchyma, isn't it? So xylem parenchyma is the third type of tissue which forms one of the tissues within xylem. Don't worry about this diagram. I'll be referring to this diagram when I'm talking about phloem. Okay. I will tell you what you should be looking at for xylem parenchyma. So, quickly revising, we have discussed about tracheids and vessels. They are a type of tissue that form the xylem as well. And xylem is a water conducting tissue. We are discussing about complex permanent tissues within plants. So, xylem parenchyma is the only tissue within xylem which is made up of living cells. Have a look at this diagram. It has cells which are rectangular in shape and they have nuclei at the center. So, this is how xylem parenchyma cells look like. So, what is the job of xylem parenchyma? Think back to when we discussed about the role of parenchyma. They help in storage, isn't it? Just like that or similar to that, even xylem parenchyma is interested with the job of storage. Alright. Now, moving on to the fourth type of tissue that forms one of the types of xylem, that is the xylem fiber. Xylem fibers are elongated pointy cells where the cell wall is heavily lignified. They are similar to tracheids, but the walls of the xylem fibers are much more thickened by the deposition of lignin. Their job is to mainly provide mechanical support. Alright. So, we were discussing about water conducting tissue, that is the xylem. Xylem is a complex permanent tissue seen in plants. Xylem is made up of many simple permanent tissues just like the ones that I have mentioned here. They are xylem fibers, xylem parenchyma, vessels and tracheids. Tracheids are pointed cells where their walls are deposited with lignin. They have pits so that they help in transport of water. But the major transport or conduction of water happens by vessels who look like, or these cells look like, cells of vessels look like tubular columns which are placed one above the other so that they form continuous channels for the transportation of water. They also have numerous pits on their surface. Xylem parenchyma is interested with the job of storage, whereas tracheids, vessels and xylem fibers are made up of only dead cells. Xylem parenchyma consists of living cells. They are made up of cells which are rectangular in nature and they have nuclei and cytoplasm. They store the substances. Okay. Xylem fibers again have thick cell walls and they perform the job of providing mechanical support to the plant. With that being said, let me move on to the second type of complex permanent tissues in plants, that is the phloem. Phloem consists of different types of tissues again, that is the sieve tubes, the companion cells, then phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. Among all these, the phloem fibers are the only dead, or the phloem fibers are made up of dead cells. Am I clear? Rest all consists of living cells. Whereas in xylem, only the xylem parenchyma consisted of living cells, the rest of them had dead cells. Okay? I hope that distinction is clear to all of you. In your textbook, they have also mentioned sieve cells, so they also form a part of sieve tubes. Now, let me quickly dust the board so that we can concentrate only on xylem and we can use this diagram for explanation purposes. Okay, so the diagram here represents the phloem. Alright, so phloem is made up of, phloem is a complex permanent tissue. I have told you just at the beginning of this video that a complex permanent tissue consists of more than one type of simple permanent tissues. Okay, so phloem consists of sieve tubes. As the name itself suggests, sieve meaning a surface which is having many holes or pores. and tubes. So if I cut the phloem lengthwise and observe it, this is how it looks like. So here you see long tube-like cells, isn't it? They have their the ends of their walls with pores. They appear like seeds. I repeat, phloem has long tube-like cells where their ends, where they are joined to the other cells, there will be another cell here. Okay, they'll be having the other cell here and one more cell on top. Okay, so the ends of these cells will have sieve-like appearance. That means the end wall will have perforations or holes. Okay, so these such end walls are called as sieve plates. Okay, and these long cells are sieve tubes. Okay, am I clear? But why should there be perforations along the ends of the cells? It is to transport food. Like I mentioned, phloem is the food conducting tissue. Alright. So, where is the food that is produced within the leaf, or how is it transported? The food which is produced in the leaf has to be transported, isn't it? So, this food is transported through phloem. And in the phloem, the major job of transporting food is taken up by these tubes or cells which have transformed themselves into tubes. These cells are placed one above the other with plates having holes. Those are called as the sieve plates, and such cells are called as sieve tubes. Okay, and they actually help in conduction of food. Okay, and also these are supported with cells which are called as companion cells. Companion cells. Okay, so just like you have a companion or a friend, isn't it? Even the sieve tubes require a companion, so they are in the form of companion cells. Okay, so since the sieve tubes have to transport food, you see these blue lines that I've drawn. These are cytoplasmic strands. Okay, so these are strands made up of cytoplasm. This has to be living, or it should consist of living cells. Companion cells, of course, should be living because they are supporting the sieve tubes, and the phloem parenchyma are also present. So these are phloem parenchyma. Don't you see that the structure is somewhat similar to xylem parenchyma as well, isn't it? So phloem parenchyma helps storage, okay? And the phloem, since there is lot of food being transported up and down through the plant, it should also have some mechanical support. That is being provided by these phloem fibers. Phloem fibers also have a structure which is similar to xylem fibers, like their walls are thick, they are lignified, okay? Their job is to mainly provide mechanical support. So once initially these cells will be living, later on as they mature, their walls become thick, they lose the cytoplasm and the nucleus. It is because they have to provide mechanical support to the plant, and more so in particular the phloem. Okay, I hope with this you are clear with complex permanent tissues in plants, basically xylem and phloem. I'll quickly reiterate the content that I've covered for phloem. Phloem mainly consists of sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. Phloem is a food conducting tissue which is seen only in plants. Okay, among all these types of tissues, only the phloem fibers consists of living dead cells. Okay, rest all are living. Fine. The job of phloem fibers is to provide mechanical support, while phloem fibers provide storage as its main job, or they help to store. Whereas the sieve tubes are actually helping in conduction or transportation of food throughout the plant, and the sieve tubes have perforated plates on either ends that helps easy transportation of food. The phloem tubes are supported with companion cells which are also living. With this we have completed complex permanent tissues. In the next video let's have a look at animal tissues. If you have liked the video, please do share, subscribe. I hope the information that we are providing through the Darwin Academy has been beneficial. See you all next time. Thank you.